let's come to the next section, the secret pool of good ideas. Secret pool, very interesting. It sounds very intriguing, isn't it? Now, what happens is a lot of time we feel that where am I going to get good ideas from? You know, is there a secret place where these creative people are getting their ideas from, or is there a source from where I can derive all these exciting, creative, new ideas? Well, ideation is actually a very natural process, and as I said, it becomes perfect with practice. But of course, your level of thinking also needs to be polished as and when you go. But always there is a good base, or there is always a good fundamental resource of ideas which are there. But how you use those resources and create ideas from them completely depends on how you ideate. Okay. So first I told you about the creative ideation techniques, that how you can deliberately create patterns from your fundamental resources or from your idea dots. Now, if you want to enrich your idea dots, if you want to enrich your knowledge or your information or your resources from which you derive these ideas or patterns, then there is a secret pool of ideas where you can actually create a whole capital or a whole, should I say, a bank of ideation resources. All right. So I'm going to tell you what these pool of ideas. But before that, I want to tell you that usually no ideas are extremely original, okay? They're always inspired by somebody or something. But that doesn't mean that the ideas are copied. There is a lot of difference between copying an idea and getting inspired by something, okay? Now, for example, say Environment Day, or it's it's all about pollution. Now, Environment Day is a concept, okay? It's all about green. Now, from green, you can actually get an entire theme for a particular event. So does that mean that you copied Environment Day? No, Environment Day is just a concept. It's just a universal idea. It is something which everybody practices. Okay, so it's too generic now to become a specific idea, but you can make it specific. You can actually give it a nice name or a nice theme around it. You can use it for an event as well. Okay, so as I said, no ideas are purely original, but how you use your resources or how you use your pool of information and create something specific, that becomes an idea. All right. Moving on. Where do you get inspiration from for these particular ideas? When you say that ideas are not original, they come from somewhere, some inspiration, where do you get the inspiration from? Okay, now these are some of the biggest sources of inspiration, especially for event management. Okay, the first source of inspiration is what you see here is pop culture. I'll explain to you what pop culture is. Destinations, all right, I'll explain this as well, and festivals, all right. Events borrow a lot from these three sources of inspiration. And what do each of them mean? When we say pop culture, it could be anything which is popular universally. Say, for example, films, as we all know, or comic books, or they could be just books, or it could be something which everybody knows about, maybe a person, a particular person, a personality. But these are pop culture, means popular culture, and they cut across. It could be a sport. For all you know, like everyone is very fond of football. So you could have football as a theme. If somebody is fond of superheroes, you can have superheroes as a theme. So themes are there. You can borrow a lot from pop culture. There is mythology, there is fashion, there is technology, there is art. So can you think of any event which is your favorite or which you have attended, which come from pop culture? So there are some EDM music events that is based on pop culture. Okay, and there are movie festivals that is based on pop culture of films. Then there are these, spy events which are maybe based on Sherlock Holmes. Then there are these themes called, these classic Great Gatsby. So the inspiration is the book called Great Gatsby. So on and so forth. It's incredible how many ideas pop culture can give you. It's incredible that these characters or these pieces of fiction can actually give you real ideas which you can take and make an entire event out of. Okay. The second source of inspiration is destinations or places. Again, these are very important in rewards and recognition kind of events. Say a lot of these dealers, a lot of these people are taken by the companies that they work for when they do really well in their sales, or when they achieve certain milestones, or when they achieve their targets. they're taken to foreign or exotic destinations like say Spain or like Turkey. Somebody's taken to Japan, somebody's taken to any other, maybe an island. So every company tries to make their people feel special, who have worked really hard and who have really achieved something. So many times these events, they borrow a lot from the destination that they are going to. So for example, if you're taking them to Spain, then you will use a very Spanish theme for the whole event. So right from the time you create a teaser campaign to what you serve them in the flight maybe, or how you take them from the flight to the venue, to the hotel. At the hotel, you will do something very Spanish for them. And all these elements in your event design will depend on maybe the destination that you are going. Okay, so countries, places, that would be one type of destination. The second type of destination, or a place, not exactly a destination, but a place, is say like an airport. Okay, so many times, some events take inspiration from this whole airport look and feel, and they will give you a boarding pass as a ticket, and then they will have flight attendants, and then maybe the ambience will be made to look like you're inside a flight. Maybe they will serve you as if you are in an airplane. So it completely depends on what your event is. You can actually use destinations as a theme, or maybe say a village or a farm. Even that is also it's a concept actually. And nowadays it's very popular because more and more people are getting eco-friendly and they want to go back to the roots. So even if you're doing an event in a banquet hall, you can actually create an entire setup of a village or a farm, if it suits your theme or if it suits your objective. And you can make it a destination event as well. Isn't it interesting and exciting? And it completely opens up an entire avenue of new and fresh ideas. So maybe there's a destination that you have traveled to very recently, and you can actually sit at home and to practice how to ideate or how to crack a theme. You take the destination, see what all you have seen there, what you have eaten, what kind of culture, what kind of festivals you have seen there. Maybe you have experienced something unique, and create an entire event concept based on your experience of that particular destination. Maybe you traveled to France, or maybe you traveled to Turkey, or maybe you traveled to Sri Lanka, any country, wherever you have gone. Just make an event concept based on the experiences that you've had over there. And then you see such a beautiful theme you can create. So festivals are yet another example of creative inspiration, and we can borrow a lot from these cultural or religious festivals that we know of or that we experience in our country or in another country. Okay, so if you remember in the first session, there was an example I had given. Say you are doing a corporate party, which is all about let your hair down and have fun. And the theme I had suggested was Mardi Gras. So Mardi Gras is nothing but a masquerade, and it's all about purple and golden and green colors. And they have a certain ritual. They have parades and they have a lot of rituals around it. And it is a Brazilian festival that is very popular around the world. You know, a lot of countries also have these parades. So if it's a very party-like atmosphere. You know, so it's a festival, and we have borrowed a theme from it. Okay, now you'll be surprised, but a lot of places have actually had color festivals as a theme of an event. They've actually created a property out of it. So this color festivals is inspired from which country? If you can guess, it's inspired from India. Okay, so we have Holi. Every spring we celebrate Holi together with colors and balloons and water, and sometimes with friends or sometimes with family. So this festival has actually been a source of inspiration for a lot of color festivals. There are some which are held in Goa. There's something which is held in Jaipur, and so on and so forth. So festivals can actually be a great source of inspiration for your ideas, and you can actually do it for any event that you are thinking of. It could be a team activity, it could be a fun activity in an event as well. Then say lighting of the lamps, or say the lamper festivals. So a lot of corporate events use this activity for team building. So when they have to take a pledge, for example, if it's a sales event and the employees have to take a pledge that they're going to do better next year, or they're going to pledge to not be defeated by the challenges, then they light these lanterns and then they release it in the air, or they release it in water if there's a water body around, as a icon or as a symbol of togetherness and of solidarity. So these kind of things are very, very relevant in events, and people like it because they create a different and a new experience. So keep your eyes, ears open wherever you go. Enjoy the local festivals. You never know, you can get inspired by them and actually create great ideas for your next event. Okay. The other sources of inspiration that we're going to quickly touch upon are nature. Nature means, eco-friendly, or it could be about earth, or it could be just about greenery or trees or plants. It could be anything around nature. Okay. It could be a particular special character, like, ninjas are special characters, samurais are special characters, and these are universally known. Okay. Then you have these Valkyries, they are special characters. They don't really exist anymore, but they are historic, and you never know, if you want to do an interesting event which is all about history, maybe you can use that as well as a source of theme. Sometimes people inspire. So Martin Luther King, as you see his photo, he could also be a source of inspiration for an event. The words that he said, the quotes that he gave could help in giving you a lot of content, a lot of communication for your event. Then other concepts like yoga. Okay, so yoga could be actually a theme. Time, for example, time travel is a theme. Food can give you different kind of cuisines and festivals. Then places like schools, spas, museum. You can actually have an event at a museum. A lot of brands really like to think different, or depending on the occasion. So if, say, for example, a brand is celebrating 50 years or 100 years of their being, then what is a great, unique place to do an event? It's a museum, because a museum actually showcases all the old and vintage things. Okay, so you can actually think different, think, innovate, ideate. Anything is possible. Collectives like toys, stationery, religion, even toys are a great theme to have. So if you're doing a family day, maybe you can do it around toys because children are going to be there. So there are ample number of phenomena, idea dots, which are all around you. You just have to open your eyes. You just have to open your thinking, your mind, and observe and try and connect the dots, that yes, this can actually work for my event or not. The third secret pool of resources is reading and researching. See, sometimes you do not know what you have read might come in play. Like, the other day I was reading a book on storytelling, the 7 plots of storytelling. And from that, I actually created an entire module of how do you create new stories from these 7 plots. Okay, so you never know what you read might be useful or what might come in play, because everything is information, everything is an idea, a latent idea, a potential idea, and you won't even know it till you actually use it. Okay, so reading helps. Read newspapers, read magazines, read articles. Don't just limit yourself to only social media. Of course, social media is a great source of inspiration. If you're doing social media, yes, you can see a lot of Pinterest and Instagram, because they also have really inspiring ideas, and they also have a lot of decoration ideas which you can use for your design. But do not copy, just adapt. Maybe you can get some unique, innovative thoughts from what you see over there on social media as well. But keep reading. Reading really helps, and keep researching. Dig into the internet for references, insights, because you never know that something which might be useful for you might be there in a blog or an article of some another wedding planner, which is absolutely okay. Now you might think that if anybody else has already done it, how is it that I'm going to do it originally, or how is it that I will do it creatively? Well, this is all about inspiration and not about copying. So if somebody has already done a theme like that, it doesn't mean that you cannot do it differently. Okay, the sources of inspiration are not their own. For example, if someone has done a Harry Potter theme, the Harry Potter is not their original idea, but the way they do it will probably be very different from the way you do it. So how original you can make it completely depends on you. The next creative ideation technique is image associations. Now, you know very well what they say is that an image, a photo, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And sometimes what you cannot explain in words, you can get actually from a picture. A picture can give you a lot of new ideas, a lot of inspiration, and which sometimes words or text cannot do. Okay, so let's take a quick example. Find a keyword and look up some images. Okay, so for example, you are looking at motivation. So you want to motivate people in the sales conference that you're doing. Now you look up the internet, look up Google for an image called motivation, and I looked this up. Okay, now this image is called, has a tagline called turbocharge your motivation. Now, how did this help me? Now, is this image really helpful per se? Maybe, maybe not. But what really helped me is this word called turbocharge. Okay, so turbocharge could be a dictionary word which I never knew of, but because I saw the image, it instantly came to me, and I said, "Oh, I never knew this," and this could be a new word or new theme for your motivation event. Turbocharge your sales or turbocharge your people, and so on and so forth. A turbocharge is a perfect word which is being coined already, and you're not copying it or you're not plagiarizing it, because it doesn't belong to a particular person. This is a dictionary word which anybody can use, but you can use it for your specific theme and to make a great impact on your event pitch. Okay, so a new word can give you a new theme as well. Now take an example, a quick exercise. Okay, now, the keyword over here is make feel special. So special was a keyword here. So, a lot of these events where you have to make your people feel special, the employees feel special, at your annual conference because they've done well, or the salespeople feel special because they've done well. So, making feel special is a very important thing in a lot of events, a lot of corporate events. Now, when I searched up special, I got this image. It's an image of a vintage car. Now, it's an image of a vintage car, and these vintage cars are really priceless. Okay, they're very exclusive and they're not available readily with everybody. Okay, it's not like a private car, but it's a collection. Like, there are a lot of people who like to collect vintage cars, and these are not available nowadays. These are like 50s and 60s. So they are a masterpiece in themselves. They're very exclusive. Now, if you want to make these people feel special, okay, now say you have CXO level people and you have people who would appreciate something like this, then why not get a vintage car rally, or you can get a set of vintage cars, or you can have an event around vintage cars. You never know what can work. And there are some vintage car rallies. There are people who collect vintage cars, and you can actually have an event, where you can showcase them. Maybe you can have a museum of vintage cars. There are a lot of options and a lot of ideas that you can get from one particular photo, because you know that this means that something is special, and you can make them feel special with this, right? So image associations really work well. And now these were some techniques, and these were some resources of creative ideation. Now, a lot of theory, a lot of ideas, a lot of things I have shared with you. But the next question you will ask is, how do I actually put it all in practice? How do I apply it when I'm actually working somewhere or when I'm actually ideating? So we'll come to that in the next session. But before I end this session, I want to just quickly give you a run up to the next session, how you're going to practically put these theories together. The first thing when you ideate, ideation is a process. When you're ideating for an event, it's a process. What is the process? The first thing that you need to do in event ideation is to decode the brief. Now, what do you mean by decoding the brief? What is a brief and what does it mean to decode it? So in short, if I have to tell you now, a brief means a set of details which a client will give you, which will tell you all about what is expected of you in that event. So who is the event for? Why are they doing it? What is the problem that we need to solve? What is the budget? And many questions will be answered. And based on the details that they give, you have to come up with a theme and an entire event design which fits that particular brief. Okay. And when you say decoding, means you have to understand what you're supposed to do, or you're supposed to crack the brief. So creative ideation is exactly like cracking it open, that you don't know what idea will work or what will not work. See, anybody can think of what venue we can do and what food we can do. Those are very fringe things. Okay. But the creative idea is the main thing that is going to win the business or not for you. So you have to decode the brief to get you a great idea. And how to decode the brief, we will learn later in the next session. Okay, moving on. Once you decode the brief, you will get a direction. Okay, you will get a direction to think that this is the way I need to think. These are the ideas that I need to kind of consider. This is the way of ideating, and so on and so forth, which again I will explain to you. And then your ideation to pitch process. So once you get ideas, you have to develop the idea in such a way that you can actually go to the client and present or pitch to them with all your ideas and with all your entire set or entire deck that you have created, with the designs, with the costs, whatever you have prepared for it. So this process we'll talk about with a case and example in the next session. But I hope that this will help you now ideate. This we will put in practice when we talk about how to decode the brief and how to create a pitch winning idea. With that, we end the session. Let's quickly recap. In this session, we spoke about techniques of creative ideation. There are some 4 or 5 techniques that I have shared. I hope you remember them. It's brainstorming and rapid ideas and step laddering and so on and so forth. And the second is sources of ideas, inspiration, like where you can get ideas from. So you can get it from pop culture, or you can get it from festivals. You can get it from where else? Think destinations. You can get it from phenomenon, venues, places, anything. Okay, so you have all your resources I have shared. Please go and apply them and try and create your own sources of inspiration. Maybe you get inspiration from somewhere else. Maybe you get an inspiration by taking a walk on the beach, or maybe you get inspiration by looking at people. Please share your inspiration resources also for with different people, with me as well, and we can add it to our own secret pool of great ideas. So thank you very much. Hope you have enjoyed the session and understood it. And in the next session, we are going to discover in detail how we are going to decode the brief and how we are going to use these techniques into actually creating a pitch winning concept or a pitch winning idea. See you in the next session.